Got to clear up the confusion with his weekly Photoshop tip. Resolution is what? The number of dots per inch.
Well, that's one way to look at it, but that's really the density. That's like how many resolution. I mean, it is the resolution, but it's the density of pixels, like how close they are together.
Right.
The first thing you have to start thinking about is what pixels are. I know this is we're kind of backing up.
What are pixels?
Okay, so when we look at this image, we've got this little image here, and this is basically a web size for one of these. And if we zoom in,
you'll see the dots.
We'll start seeing the dots. Now, each one of these, is a pixel.
Right.
And if we
all images on computers are made up of dots.
Yeah, and each one of these dots is that you have. They're one color per dot.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, right now,
it's
for
amazing
instance,
how the eye resolves that into something that looks smooth and continuous like real life.
And the key is packing them close enough together so that we can see it as a smooth, continuous thing. See, right now we're looking at it at about, if we select an inch of this, that's about 6 dots per inch. Okay. So we've got 6 of these pixels within every inch.
6 dots per inch is what we would call a very low resolution.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly. So,
okay.
And we really
is usually 300 to 600. Photo printer 1200 to 1440 dots per inch. I mean, we're talking much higher.
Much higher. And so now the key is that what people oftentimes mistake though is they think of DPI. And then they think of they mistake that for the raw size of the photo.
Right.
So, and the raw size is the most important number.
That's the 640 by 480.
Exactly. That's the number that you have to always keep paying attention to.
That's the same thing though. That's 640 dots by 480 dots.
Right. Now, but it could be.
It could be 1 inch big, or it could be a yard big.
Exactly.
And so that's where the dots per inch would vary.
So, like for instance, if we look at this image now, if we select this again, if you look at my info here.
Yeah.
And I select about an inch. See, now I'm getting about, it's going to be about 72 dots per inch.
Which is screen size.
Right. Screen resolution is about, now with a laptop or a higher resolution screen, it might be 100 dots per inch. But for the most part, I mean, what we consider screen size is we've taken those dots, and if you put your eye, well, you probably shouldn't put your eyes really close to the TV, right? But if you got really close, if you did that, you would see a whole bunch of these little dots.
But at normal screen resolutions, at normal looking sizes, your 72 dots per inch is nice.
Exactly. That works. It's 800 by 600 at a regular size. Now, if we look at I'm still
a little confused between the relationship between resolution and dots per inch.
Exactly, and that's what most people, people who are professionals in this industry get confused, by it. Not so much people who do print, but people who do video have a trouble with it. If you look at the image size, what you're going to see is we have 72 dots per inch, and it tells us, this is going to be 5 by 4. That's the resolution. But the important thing is it's 400 pixels by 300 pixels.
That's the dimension.
That's the dimensions, but that's really how many pixels you have. You've got, if you multiply 400 by 300, you'll get 1.2 million.
That's a 1.2 megapixel image.
Exactly, and that's all of the data that you have.
Got it.
Now, what people will do is they have this resample on, and they change this to 300.
Oh no, that's going to be bad, isn't it?
Well, it just changed these numbers, right? Okay, now
our image is much bigger.
Now we got it to 300 DPI.
But it's blurry.
But it's blurry, and if we look at, for instance, I have actually a version of this from the original.
When you get close, you can see it's blurry.
And if you compare it,
there's just no resolution.
But a lot of people make the mistake of mistaking the dots per inch, for the raw resolution. Right. You always want to make sure that you never, ever.
You always never want to.
You never, ever want to change want to change that raw number. So if we look
at the dots per inch the same.
No, the dots per inch can be this number should never change. See this? It can never get higher.
Okay.
It can get lower. If it gets lower, it'll just it'll resample it. But if this number goes up, you're going to end up with a soft image.
Okay.
So you can't just change this down here, or if you do, what you have to make sure of is, let's go back to 72 DPI. If you turn off resample.
Okay. That's trying to make it look nice though, right, isn't it?
Well, watch what. Resampling is trying to make it look nice, but it won't.
Right.
So, it's a nice try, but for instance, like with this image here, if we look at this image size.
So if I want to make my image bigger, how should I do it?
If you want to print it bigger, and you have a width and a height here, you should shoot it again.
In other words, you're saying whenever you shot it at, that's what you got.
Yeah,
it ain't gonna get any better.
Exactly. You can't get something for nothing.
All right.
And so the thing is that you should scan it again, shoot it again, get a higher width and height. A higher that's truly what you should think of as the resolution.
That's why when you shoot a 1.2 megapixel photo,
right,
and you try to print it at 8.5 by 11, or you send it to a photo processor, it doesn't look good.
Exactly.
There's just not enough data in there. There's no way you can make it that big.
Right, and the dots per inch are irrelevant. You know, if I change this right now, if I turn off resampling and I say I want to print this at 600, notice how I locked it by saying don't resample. I locked this to the size, but this changes. This tells me what I really can print it at. If I want to print it at 600,
it's going to be 2 by 2.
It can be 2 by 2, and that's what I have. That's the number of pixels that I have to squeeze into that. You know,
important to know that when you shoot, because you don't want to go to a photo processor and try to make these images too big. So 1 megapixel camera, really 4 by 6 or 5 by 7 is the biggest you should ever print.
Well, 1 megapixel is like 3 inches. I mean, you know, 2 or 3 inches. Is, you know, if you're looking at 3 megapixel, that's really a 5 by 7. Okay. You know, now all of this and there's way more on the web. So I put a lot of other information.
So some rules of thumb and things like that.
Like, you know, a magazine, like you open up Time magazine, that's 133 line screen, which is the resolution of the printer.
Right.
An art magazine is 200 line screen.
That's why they look so much better.
Yeah, and then like the newspaper is like
85.
Yeah.
Very low.
Yeah, so the thing is that depending on those, that all, you know, affects the resolution that needs to be there.
I may regret asking this. How does line screen relate to dots per inch?
Generally there's a rule of thumb.
Yeah.
The line screen is the screens of the printer that the printer uses, and it's how dense they are.
Like a silk screen kind
you
of,
generally want more pixels than line screen. At best quality, you never need more than 2 pixels for every line.
Okay.
So if it's 133 line screen, you really wouldn't need more than
266. Got it.
And the minimum is 1.6. That's what they call the Cytex.
So between 1.6 to 2 pixels per line. And that's the correspondence between relationship.
Right, which means if you're printing out to a newspaper that's 100 line screen, you really only need 150 to 200 DPI to make it all work.
Fascinating stuff. It's all on the web. I know it's confusing. Very important to know. I guess the bottom line is don't blow it up too big because it's going to look like.
Yeah, that's the bottom line.
For more information on image resolution, be sure to visit our website techtv.com/call for help. Coming up.